Welcome back to the Monarch Metamorphosis Podcast. This is episode 11, a very special episode because my mother's angel number was 11. So you should hopefully feel special that we're here for that one. But it's very exciting because we have Caroline Pearce, and Caroline has been a part of Monarch for a very long time. And, you know, I don't even remember how we got introduced. It's been years, but she's been a huge driver and an advocate of what we've been doing. And partially it's because that's just how she's lived her life. And you have an incredibly interesting backstory, which I'll let you get into, but coming from the UK and then becoming a figure in UFC, you've interviewed some of the biggest names in combat sports. But at the end of the day, one of the huge aspects of what allows you to do what you do on a daily basis is how much and how focused you are on taking care of yourself. And so I'm super excited to have you here to, do a deeper dive into what you do, how do you take care of yourself, and hopefully people listening who, may travel as much as you do, your schedule is insane, and yet you are super diligent, you're super consistent, and ultimately the results speak for themselves. Because you're able to do stuff that most people stopped being able to do when they were 18, 19, and 20. So super grateful to have you here. First and foremost, just give us a background, because I think I know, in terms of I feel like you were in the Olympics or maybe on the way to the Olympics, but anyway, give people give people your backstory, because I think it's super interesting.
Oh, thank you for the great introduction, and great to be here for episode number 11. That is very special.
Number 11.
It was 2020 that I joined Monarch.
Yeah,
so it's
crazy.
been 5 years.
Unbelievable.
5 years already. It's been a long, it feels like I'm part of the family, or part of the furniture.
Literally,
at
been
this
here
point,
from the beginning.
Literally.
Yeah.
But my backstory is I was a former athlete for Great Britain. I competed in track and field in the heptathlon. So the heptathlon, those of us crazy enough to do 7 disciplines, the hurdles, the high jump, the shot put, the 200 meters, long jump, javelin, and 800 meters over 2 days. And then I transitioned to bobsled, which is odd in the UK because there's no snow, or not a lot of snow. But we had an ice track at Bath University, and they recruit a lot of track and field athletes that have the speed and the power, and all of heptathlon is speed and power events, and that have a little bit of crazy in them to actually sort of hurtle down a bobsled track at 80 odd miles an hour. So I tried out, and within a month I found myself in Calgary, Canada, preparing for the World Championships with the team. So that's sort of, in short, my athletic background, and represented Great Britain in bobsled as well. And then I got injured quite young within the sport, sort of still in my sort of mid-late 20s. It was really bone on my left knee, which is something that still to this day, and Monarch have helped me with managing it over the years. And I transitioned into sports broadcasting because I still wanted to be involved in competitive sport. I obviously rehabbed for a long time and tried to get back to full competition, which I did to a degree, and then decided, okay, maybe my path is in telling the stories of athletes.
Yeah.
But I've also forged a career in the fitness, well-being, longevity industry as well. So taking care of myself is just ingrained in me. And that's as much part of my life as it was as an athlete, just with a different focus now.
And compared to when you were a professional athlete, training, how would you compare what you're doing today in terms of what you do, how often you do it, compared to when you were a professional athlete? Because I think a lot of people assume that pro athletes are training super hard every single day, and we're entering into this world of now, what we're talking about in professional sports. You hear words like load management, and back in the day when I grew up with Michael Jordan, they would go play golf and then they would go play an NBA finals game later in the day. And so training has changed a lot. How would you describe what you used to do compared to what you now do? And do you think you're doing more now, less now? It's just different.
It's
obviously.
Just different. Yeah, it's just very different. And to be honest, it's probably my injuries that have held me back, because my mindset when I was competing was that more is better.
Yeah.
If I'm the person climbing the fence to the track on Christmas Day to train and train harder than anyone else, I'm going to be better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think I was sort of victim of pushing myself so hard and wanting to be the best so badly at what I did that, I would try and overcome injuries by ignoring them or pushing through them, that whole mindset of just push through it, and and still keep training hard. And my body eventually broke down on me and shortened my career. But so I say my approach now is both through being older, but also as a necessity. It's more sensible.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I do differently. I wish I had access back then to the recovery tools and techniques that I put so much focus on now, because I find that I can still lift as heavy. I can still do the box jumps, but I don't recover as quick.
Right.
That's been the biggest difference. And there's injuries that will hold me back. So I've put a huge emphasis now on recovery. I think the focus has shifted naturally from training for performance to training for longevity and just to feel good.
Yeah.
And that was a big mindset shift, because any athlete will know when you stop competing, there's that slight loss of identity. Who am I? What's my purpose?
Totally.
Yet you're still always an athlete within. And one thing I coach is we'll have an inner athlete.
Right.
You know, that
100%.
competitor, that person inside that wants to be, even if it's just the best to play your recreational sport or to play with your children or whatever it might be. So I still try and tap into that. And I think so many of the habits I learned along the way, which were, journaling, keeping track of my training, seeking professional advice, are still things that benefit me today, even though the goals changed.
Did you ever lose your desire to compete in the sport? And the reason I say that is I think one of the things that I've seen from a medical standpoint that we try to implement here with Monarch, and whether that's like our Saturday Sweat group fitness stuff or, like on the whiteboard, every once in a while, we have challenges up there, like play. I think play is extremely important. And obviously when you're doing sport, like there's that ingrained, competition, and it's fun, and you're out there with other people, and there's that, obviously, like there's pressure to win, but I think play is part of what gets lost. And especially with the movement aspect, as you kind of alluded to, people are like, what's the point, right? Like, why am I just getting out here and sweating and lifting? Like, I'm not going to win anything. And I think there's that mindset aspect. So like, do you think as you were, maybe because of, maybe it wouldn't have changed or mattered at all, but like, do you think perhaps that you having injury shorten your career prevented you from getting to the point where you're just like, I don't want anything to do with this? Because like, and I have good friends who like played college soccer and other sports. They're just like, I wouldn't go to a gym if you paid me, because like I am burnt out based on 5 a.m. lifts, 6 a.m. lifts, like all that kind of stuff. So like, how have you maintained that sense of just kind of like passion for it? And do you think you potentially were given a gift because you're like, you got taken out of the sport perhaps before you reached burnout?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I wouldn't call it a gift because of the injury that I still, have to manage. But certainly my career was cut short. So I never was at the point where I don't want to compete anymore. In fact, it was cut short at the point where I felt I was probably reaching my full potential and that I maybe never got there. Yes, I did European Cup, I did World Championships, but yeah, you mentioned Olympics. I didn't make the Olympics. That was always my goal. Yeah. So for me, I never lost that competitive edge, but I had moments where I lost my why. Yeah. And I always say to people, what's your why? Just turning up to turn up without any goal, whether it's a short-term goal, long-term goals. We all know about goal setting in all aspects of our life. So I've definitely had times when it's wavered, but I've probably never missed more than a few days to a week of training in my entire adult life, just because it's just become so ingrained in my life that's what I do. It's non-negotiable. Yeah. And people always say, well, how are you motivated every day? And I'm like, well, I'm not. But I put one foot in front of the other. It's as much as my routine is brushing my teeth, and I just go and do it. It's meditation. I think that's for me too. Exactly. And it's just something, it gives me something different now. So I've had to find different whys. Just the whole doing it for aesthetics and to look good and keep my body in shape wasn't enough for me. Yeah. It had to be something more. So I never got burnt out of competition. And I see it with a lot of the UFC fighters in the world in which I report and host. You see those fighters that disappear and get fat after they're retired. Not many, actually. Most are still in the gym coaching, and then they'll come back for another fight because it's still within them. It's still that person who they are inside. Yeah. And if I hadn't been injured to the degree I was, I probably would be competing in something still. Yeah. And so that's a good segue, because I totally get why people, and let me step back, because before we started kind of talking about things that keep me up at night, and one of those things right now is,
I cannot believe the amount of money that's in professional sport. Like, it's just these contracts, or you're looking at it, you're like, goodness gracious, but like, they're not paying people with money that they don't have. So like, clearly the money is coming in. And, perhaps, our fascination with sport is one for people like you to stay connected to it because you're just like, this has been a part of my identity forever. That's great. Other people, it's entertainment and it's storytelling. So you making your way into the world of sport to tell those stories versus be the story, totally understand. The question is there's a lot of different sports out there. How did you find your way into UFC? Because, me personally, like I have one of my best friends growing up was a professional boxer. And so like I kind of got into that. And then I was like, boxing's fun. I'll go do it and train, like, tangential interest. But like, there's something about UFC where I just like, it never resonated. Yeah. Partially because like, I don't want to get hit in the face. I don't like seeing other people get hit in the face. And so for me, it's never been a thing, but clearly it's massive. Even in my lifetime, your lifetime, which in the grand scheme of things has been relatively short, where it's gone and where it's at now is insane. Yeah. So like, how did you find yourself in the combat sports world versus working Sky Sports? I mean, Premier League is, could have been anyway.
Kind of sort of came to me, really. It wasn't something I was pursuing. So when I retired, I sort of reached my studies, my degree, my master's degree in sports science, physiology, nutrition for sport performance. But in wanting to stay involved, and I had thoughts of maybe becoming a lecturer, going into the sort of coaching world. But I still wanted to feel like I was performing. And so that sense of live television and broadcasting was for me a sense of performance in a world of sport that I love. So I retrained in broadcasting and started covering in the UK, for example, and probably similar here in the US, those presenting soccer, rugby, they're established. Yeah. It's hard to find a way in. They are the people that have the jobs at the Sky Sports and what was BT Sport at the time. And UFC was still relatively lesser known. I'm talking 11 years ago when I started covering UFC. But we had a network. So I'd done World's Strongest Man, some British Superbikes, and kind of just trying to sort of make my way and get content across different sports or more smaller sports. And then BT Sport launched as a network in the UK to rival Sky Sports. So think of it like ESPN and Fox Sports. Yeah. So the two big ones, if you like. And they got the rights to the UFC. And I was brought in through my management, as an upcoming presenter, as we call it, host. And they said, what do you know about UFC? And I've always been taught to say yes and learn. Yeah. So, and actually an ex-boyfriend of mine had been a judo player and an MMA fighter. So I knew a little bit, but I'm talking a real. Yeah. So I just said, no, I'm a huge fan. And, my boyfriend at the time fights MMA and we watch a lot of MMA. They're like, that's fantastic. We're really struggling to find a female lead that knows the sport. Yeah. So there I go, like research mode, watching the back catalogue of every fight I get my hands onto. And I started hosting this weekly live show on the UFC, preview show, post-fight show from a studio. But I fell in love with it because mixed martial arts, which most people know as the UFC, the premium organization, is you're really looking at every different martial art being combined in or utilized in one fight. Yeah. So as a heptathlete who's used to training for 7 different disciplines, I really related to the training and the mindset. And the more fighters that came in our studio, I just loved their backstories. Yeah. And I fell in love with it. And then in the UK, I have to announce that please join us at 3 a.m. for the main card. So there I am sitting up in the dark at night at 3 a.m. watching all these fights just because I became so passionate about it. And for whatever reason, because I've done a bit of boxing and I grew up watching and loving boxing, but the violent side of it, you talked about, I was kind of a little bit numb to it because I was so intent on learning what the moves were and what the techniques were, and especially on the ground, the grappling. I became a little bit numb to it. There's been things along the way that, we've had compound fractures, horrific, or certain ground and pound could be quite hard to watch. And then especially as you build relationship with those fighters and their families, again, becomes even harder to watch. Yeah. But I just see the sport and the sort of the primal nature of what fighting is. And then if you ever go to a UFC event, the spectacle, the way those productions are put on is second to none. And now it's just 11 years later, if someone had said to me, this would be one of your main jobs, I'd probably think they were mad. But it's what brought me out to the US and is a huge passion. And then,
to us with Monarch. I'd never really thought about it as like kind of that heptathlon connection. That makes a ton of sense. And I think probably too is because, I grew up doing no sort of combat, anything. So it's just like it never really resonated, but that's super interesting. Before I move on, like of all the things that you've seen or been present for, like what's your quintessential UFC moment? Like what's the one thing where you're like, that was the coolest or most moving moment? And the second part to that is, who's your favorite fighter of all time?
I always get asked that one. It's a hard one to answer. In terms of the Conor McGregor era was pretty epic. So when Conor McGregor first burst onto the scene in the UFC and took over, the Irish took over, and to be such a big part of all those events in the beginning, at the MGM Marine, Grand Arena, the Mandalay Bay, all of those, the first ever event at Madison Square Garden for the UFC, watching Conor become the double champion and having interviewed him from his first fight in the UFC to what he became, they were pretty epic. You know, then the tour with Mayweather and, you know, the fight with Jose Aldo when he became the featherweight champion. And those moments haven't really been repeated since. And you felt like you were part of something really big, like the sport suddenly getting recognition beyond the hardcore fans. But in terms of who's my favorite fighter, I mean, there's so many. They're actually people, again, have this illusion of this violence and who these people are, but really good human beings for the most part. You know, you've got the likes of Alex Pereira, who's been taking over the sport, double champion, probably one of the biggest names now. Absolutely love to watch that guy fight. Ronda Rousey, when she was fighting, because as a woman, again, just so inspired by her. Joanna Jędrzejczyk. A lot of the females, because I've been in the sport where they weren't in the sport until Ronda Rousey came along. You've got on the UK side, we've now got Tom Aspinall's the heavyweight champion, watching him, watching John Jones in his heyday as well. And some could say still is, you know, he retired as the champion. So too many moments to sort of talk about one. But just having the chance to sit down, like we are now, with some of the biggest names in the sport and delve into conversations beyond the sport. And for me, it's what drives people, what motivates them, what's their why. You know? So they've been pretty powerful moments for me.
Yeah, my answer is Patty the Baddie.
I'm glad you said Patty. Can you chant the song?
No. I can't.
Patty the Baddie. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. Patty's a lot of fun and proving himself now to be a
I think it's the fact that like when people talk shit, he like literally shows up at their gym and is like, all right, here's the opportunity to like,
People sort of relate to the people that are authentic. Love them or hate them if they stick to who they are no matter what. And it's that authenticity that I think people love. Yeah,
love that. So obviously UFC has become a global phenomenon. That's not even a phenomenon. It is just a bastion of sport. Yeah. And like I actually ran into you in Vegas. I was there for a concert with my dad. And then like, so I know that you are all over the place. Yeah. And I think for me, you know, for instance, I just got back from Europe with my family and like I brought bands. I made sure that I had my single sachets of protein and creatine. Like, I think for men, like we think about that a little bit more. Like, how do you do it on the road? Like, what are your, like in your go bag, how do you maintain what you do? Like, what are your non-negotiables? And then like, how do you also maneuver around recognizing like, you know, when I was in Paris, like there's no gyms, right? So like I would find a band and a pole out on, and just like, I'm going to do whatever. Like, what does that look like for you? Because I do think, especially, I don't want to say it's just with women, but like in people in general, you know, what I've seen with Monarch is like, I don't think anyone doesn't want to be healthy. I don't think anyone doesn't want to feel good, but life is real and travel is a big part of what we do. We're a global society. So how do you navigate that in terms of like, no matter where you go, like these are the things that you're going to have with you, you know?
I'm a little bit kinder on myself now than I used to, because it used to be with jet lag and all the rest of it, I would get up, I would get that workout done no matter what. And then I sort of learned to realize, well, probably the cortisol surging through my body from no sleep and making myself do a hard HIIT workout didn't really serve me for the rest of the day. So I think I've learned to be a little kinder on myself. I'm like, okay, if I'm away this week, it's going to look a little bit different and I'll make up for it when I get back. But it's just consistency. So it's making sure I do something. So, you know, I do schedule it in depending on, I mean, for me, for example, a lot of stuff that happens in our fight world, if that's what I'm traveling for, is later in the day. So I can always get up and get a workout in. If there's a gym at the hotel, amazing. There's not too much compromise. If there's not, like yourself, I'm traveling with bands, I'm traveling with gliders because most hotels have a carpet for the floor, and you can use those quite effectively. As you know, I'm part of the Fit On app, which is free app fitness workouts, of which I've created a gazillion over the last few years. So I do my own workouts as well. It's like, I put this together, I programmed it, I'm telling other people to do it, I'm going to do it, because they're designed specifically for at home or for traveling. So it's making sure that I'm working out as much or as close to as much as I would do ordinarily, with a few modifications. Just because I'm eating out all the time, I don't have to eat different. And that's something, I see a lot of people, oh, well, we're traveling, we're away, I'm going to get dessert, I'm going to get this, I'm going to eat all the bread before the food comes. And occasionally I will. It gets the end of the week and we're celebrating, but no, I can still order my protein, get a nice steak or some chicken and some vegetables, and ask for it to be done a little bit differently, like hold off on the salt and any butter and whatever. So I can sort of keep my diet on track. And I actually snack less when I'm traveling as well, which is at home. It's so easy to just keep going to the refrigerator or the cupboard and snack. I actually find, because I'm busy and I don't have it to hand, I snack a little bit less. But I'll pack the snacks that I like, or the first stop I'll make if there's a Whole Foods or there's somewhere, half decent. I'll get the nuts, I'll get some fruit, I'll make sure, has the hotel I've chosen got a refrigerator. Most of the time I'll request a hotel, or if it's my own means, I'll choose a hotel that has a good gym. I think that's something that excites me, and then training in different environments gives me a different motivation as well.
It's interesting to see what's happening in the health tourism space, because in Santa Monica, like the Proper Hotel now has a very nice gym.
Some do classes and get up and do some yoga or whatever it might be.
And so like it's interesting, and I have noticed that when I travel, will be like the same thing. I'm going to choose a hotel that's near a Whole Foods or something, so I can go and maintain that consistency. Are there any like packets or grab and go supplements? Because like I do a lot of momentous stuff. They have travel single serve creatines. I've been doing Pro Mix pre-workout, because it's a powder that I refuse to check a bag. I just refuse. So like I have to. Normally I'm doing like a Celsius or a NoCo, but like, are there any like little supplement things that you take with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the products I've been taking for a long time is MitoPure by Timeline Nutrition, which is all about mitochondrial regeneration, and it's based on this ingredient called urolithin A. Sort of cell renewal, mitochondrial renewal. That product's been pretty game-changing for me, and you can take it in capsules, you can take it in gummies, but they do the sachets as well.
Nice.
So I'll either take the pack of the gummies, and they're easy to pack, or the sachets, and then that's part of my morning routine. But I will also pack literally every supplement I take. I will sit and spend that evening counting out how many I need, for how many days I'm gone. And that's a non-negotiable, because I used to think, it's only a week, it's such a hassle. But now I'm like, no, I'm not going to let up on the things that make me feel good. And getting my sleep concoction down has been vital as well, because like I said, the time zone, the dehydration, drink a load of water, take the electrolyte sachets as well. That's something that's been important for me. But my little combination of at night magnesium and CBD has served me pretty well. And then as you helped me out with, for flights themselves, the Ambien has been something I've only just discovered. And I got to the point where I just wasn't sleeping on long haul or night flights, and it was screwing me up. So it's like, if you can use something appropriately when you need it, has helped me as well. But I will not compromise on my supplements when I train. My supplements, my sleep, my training, but then I think mindset. That's always the thing that's forgotten. Be a little bit kinder to yourself. Realize you're going to have to adapt a little bit, but as long as you're consistent, you're not going to lose too much. Yeah.
So what's next for you? Like, where, if you could project 5 to 10 years in the future from like a career standpoint, like, where would you like to be? Do you still want to be in UFC? Do you see yourself moving into a different arena? Like, what does that look like for you?
I do see myself staying in the combat sports world for quite some time, because it is growing like crazy. The UFC have now, or Dana White specifically, has created Zoo for boxing. They're now looking to take over the boxing world. I've done a lot of boxing events as well, the big Tyson Fury events, Canelo events. And I just think there's more and more opportunities to continue to get better at what I do, to cover even more big events. But I do have a passion for other sports as well, and a dream of mine is to work within the Formula One at some point as well.
Yes.
In fact, when I joined TNT Sports, which was called BT Sport at the time, 11 years ago, my main goal there was the MotoGP, because I love my motorsports. And then the UFC opportunity came up, and I ran with it. But now the Formula One is growing in the US.
Yeah, huge
as well. Like it always has been for us growing up in the UK and Europe. I've been attending Formula One events for a long, long time, watching it with my dad every weekend as a kid. So to be involved in that somehow is on my radar.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to branch out to more sports, but to continue to do this and feel so privileged to be amongst sports that I love, talking to the best of the best, whilst maintaining my business and my partnerships in the health and wellbeing space.
Yeah.
PowerPlate, the vibration training platform I've worked with for 20 years.
Wow.
It literally saved me with my injury.
Yeah.
Just the reflex muscle contractions it creates, and working with everyone from elite athletes to people with disabilities and people that just want to get fit. And we're growing and our products are developing all the time. So just continuing to be passionate about the things I do and help them grow.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge fan of and believer in manifestation. So now that you've shared it with the world, the energy is in the astral plane. So my final question, just because I like to ask everyone this, and I say it because like I'm a huge fan of founders, like as a co-founder of something that you've been a part of and hopefully benefited from. I think one of the interesting things about humanity is we write everything down. We try to transcribe, we document, whether that's film or television or obviously like books. So one of the most powerful influences in my life is Steve Jobs, just because, for 1,000 different reasons. But if you read all of his collected works, you realize like for as many idiosyncrasies as he had, really what he wanted to do is just make something wonderful. And what I mean by that is he's like, I am not going to meet everyone who ever uses an Apple product ever, but hopefully by me pouring my passion into what I'm doing, whether I meet you or not, you get to tell me what you like or don't like or not. Like hopefully this ripple will positively impact far and wide. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm passionate about what I'm doing. Because ultimately, in my world, I believe if we are healthy of body, mind, and spirit, then we really get to execute why we were brought to this world in the first place. So my final question is like, when you look back end of days and you get to reflect on your life, like what do you hope to be kind of the lasting impact of your work? Like what would you like your mark to be?
That's a really good question. And I've asked myself it at various times. And I think that the best way I can answer it is when I get those messages in my DMs on Instagram or, personal people reach out to me personally whereby maybe in my workouts through the Fit On app or that I've worked with personally through PowerPlate with people with certain injuries and conditions, and hear somebody say, this has literally changed my life. Because I don't necessarily go about my business thinking I'm changing anyone's life. I'm just hoping to inspire, motivate, educate in some way. But when you hear that sort of makes me then think, oh, wow, what I'm doing, even if it's just a few people that it's helping, that feels very powerful and it feels very rewarding. And I think most of us, day to day, you're not necessarily aware of who you might be impacting, and you hope it's positive, and that's always the goal. So I think to look back and think, if even just a few people benefited from something I shared or did or put my heart and soul into, then I'll leave feeling good about that. And then on the entertainment front, as much as it might sometimes seem just very glamorous and all the rest of it, just to be a very small part of the journey of what some of these fighters and athletes are going through, whether it's by telling a story that they maybe haven't before or showing a side of them that maybe people didn't realize, using those stories to motivate other people to get into the sport or to do something positive, or even motivate people to follow the path I do. I have a lot of young women. How did you get into sports broadcasting? What are the challenges you face as a woman in this world? So I think just to have impacted a few people across those different industries that I'm passionate about make me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe like history doesn't repeat itself, humans do. So like someone has to be the trailblazer that just shows that it's possible for a woman to be a prominent force in combat sports, or that, someone of our age can continue to perform at a high level, whether that's via PowerPlate or however you get there. And I think, what's powerful about these platforms like podcasts and everything else is like, I definitely, like when I hear a story of someone else because someone took the time to write it down or transcribe it, I'm like, damn, I do that too. Or I think that way too. And like, it's inspiring. And at least I'm like, I'm not alone, or I'm on the right track, whatever that means. And that's why I think, what you do in terms of telling your story, telling other stories, like that opens the door for other people who may feel like I'm the only one experiencing this. And like, that's not true. Like we're all experiencing everything. And I guarantee someone has felt something that someone else is experiencing. So thank you for the work that you do. It's been amazing. It's been an honor to have you as part of the Monarch family. And, again, like, it's inspiring to me because you're there every single day. So it's, it's like, even if I feel like not doing something, I'll see people like you and I'm like, all right, like I can get out there and do it. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for helping us here and being on the podcast. It's been a blessing. So with that, back to our work. You've got stuff to do. I've got stuff to do. So thank you for joining us.
Well, I would like to thank you as well and thank the Monarch community. Like I said, I've been here since 2020. And not just the facility and a place to work out, but the incredible support I've had from you personally on the medical side, from the physical therapists that have helped me with my reoccurring injuries and been very patient and supportive with me, and just having this amazing community that I know I can draw upon as well. It works both ways. So it's like I say, it's like a family here, and it's a huge 360-degree approach to absolutely everything. That it's not about just fitness. Even coming in here and seeing other people working out that I see regularly, it's like, okay, we're all back at it and we're motivating each other, even if we're doing independent things. So thank you as well.
Thank you. Well, that's a good place to end it. So thank you guys for joining us. Episode 11, the Monarch Metamorphosis Podcast with Miss Caroline Pearce. And we will see you next time.